Hi, I'm Nathan from F7R and this is the top 5 unforgettable races in Formula 1 history. So first up and fifth on our list is the Italian Grand Prix from 1978. This was where the Swedish Formula 1 driver Ronnie Peterson unfortunately lost his life. The race started at about 3:30 PM and Gianni Rastelli turned on the green lights before all the cars had lined up. This resulted in sort of a funneling effect where the middle pack of the cars sort of caught up to the front runners before the first chicane. One of the drivers tried to overtake James Hunt. As they did that, he veered to the left, hitting the right rear of Peterson's Lotus 78. That resulted in Peterson crashing into the barrier and engulfing in flames. He was pulled to safety and only suffered sort of minor burns. Once he got to the hospital, they did an x-ray and he had multiple breaks in both legs. He was sent to intensive care and underwent surgery. But complications would result in Peterson's kidney failure and ultimately passed away at 9:55 AM the very next day. Next up on our list at number 4 is the 1977 Formula 1 Grand Prix in South Africa. James Hunt was starting on pole position. On lap 22, the Shadow 4 driver of Renzo Zorzi pulled off the main straight after having problems with his fuel. The fuel was pumping onto the engine, which then resulted in catching fire. Zorzi did not immediately get out as he couldn't disconnect his oxygen pipe from his helmet. You see, back then they used to have these oxygen pipes that were fixed to the helmets so that you were able to breathe if you were caught in a fire. This situation caused two marshals that were over the other side of the track to intervene. As the marshals ran across the track to save the trapped driver, two drivers come over the hill and down the main straight. The first driver avoided one of the marshals, but the second driver hit the teenage marshal at 170 miles an hour. The marshal did die on impact, but he was carrying a fire extinguisher. That fire extinguisher actually hit the helmet of the driver, causing him to crash into a barrier as well and tragically killed him. There was also a driver in that race called Carlos Pace. He actually tragically died as well in an aircraft accident less than 2 weeks after that Grand Prix. So next on our list, how can we not have Monaco? This is number 3 and this is the 1955 Monaco Grand Prix. Stirling Moss had just signed for the Mercedes team and him and his teammate Fangio, not a name you might remember there, they led 1-2 until halfway through the race when Fangio had to retire with a transmission problem. That gave the lead to Stirling Moss, almost a lap ahead of any other driver until lap 80 when his engine blew up in the Mercedes. The new leader, Ascari, miscalculated the chicane coming out of the tunnel and went straight through the barrier in his Lancia and into the harbour. Ascari did manage to swim to safety, but that left one of the Ferraris that were completely uncompetitive at the time to take the lead and get their first Formula 1 victory. Incredible. Number 2 on our list is the German Grand Prix in 1976. This was the Grand Prix of reigning world champion Niki Lauda's near fatal accident. Niki Lauda was not impressed with the safety conditions coming into the German Grand Prix, especially with it forecast rain. He voted to boycott the race, but the other drivers voted against this and the race went ahead. All the drivers but one started on the wet tyres, but once the race had started, the rain began to stop and all the drivers started pitting for dry tyres. Just after the fast left kink, Lauda's Ferrari snapped to the right and spun through the fencing. It hit the bank and bounced back onto the track, enveloped in flames. Guy Edwards managed to avoid hitting the Ferrari of Niki Lauda, but Harlan Ertl and Brett Lunger both hit Lauda. All three drivers stopped and tried to get Lauda out of the flames. Lauda had suffered serious burns and was rushed by helicopter to the hospital. Lauda then fought for his life for the next couple of days. Lauda did eventually pull through, as you all know, and survived, but only due to the quick responses of his fellow Formula 1 drivers. So number 1 on our list is the San Marino Grand Prix from 1994. The race was already overshadowed by the death of Ronald Ratzenberger the previous day. As the race started, there was a collision with the Lotus and the Benetton that resulted in a safety car. It was only the 3rd time that the safety car had been used since 1993 due to concerns over tyre temperature. Ayrton Senna actually pulled up alongside the safety car several times, urging it to speed up. Once the track had been cleared, the safety car went into the pit lane and the drivers continued to race. On lap 7, only 2 laps since the safety car went in, Ayrton Senna was leading Michael Schumacher and at 190 miles per hour tried to take the left turn at Tamburello, continued in a straight line and struck the unprotected concrete barrier at 131 miles per hour as Senna was trying to brake at the time. Ayrton Senna was instantly killed. When the track officials inspected the wreckage, they found a furled Austrian flag Senna had planned to raise at the end of the race in honour of Ratzenberger. Senna was a true gentleman of the sport and is still greatly missed by the Formula 1 community.